So it has been quite a while since I've done a Q&A on this channel, and I had a couple of spare days of downtime while I was in Korea. I put the call out on my Instagram for you guys to ask me some questions, but unfortunately I just didn't have the time to record the Q&A while I was there. You guys really came through with the questions. I got a ton of awesome questions over on the Instagram, so let's jump right in. So Darkest Night asks, how do you find people to take pictures for when you want to start taking portraits for fun? And this was actually a recent video that I made on the channel, which I will leave linked in the corner. I'm not sure which corner it will be. If you want to go and check out that video, I pretty much answer that question in, I'd say, pretty detailed fashion. Bogdan Golden asks, if you work with non-models, people not used to posing, how do you approach it? So for me, when I'm working with people who aren't accustomed to being in front of the camera, I always fall back to making that person look comfortable. This is something that you can do in your everyday life. Just observe how people stand or sit when they're relaxed. Usually they'll have all their weight on one leg, they'll have a hand in the pocket, they might be leaning up against something. These are all cues that you can use to make a person look more comfortable and natural in front of the camera. I've just never really been a fan of posing every single part of a person's body in a certain way so that they look optimal, because sometimes it just doesn't look natural, it doesn't look like them, and when the person sees the photo they sort of think, is this really me, or is this some kind of manufactured representation of me that the photographer thought looked the best? I think just in general, if a person looks relaxed, they look like they're at home, they're going to come across on the camera more naturally. J_Childress asks, how to make pictures soft during harsh lighting. My advice would be to try to eliminate unsightly shadows as much as you can. For me, the simplest way is to shoot with the light source behind the subject. So if that harsh light is coming in at a 45-degree angle, my initial instinct is just to put the sun or whatever that light source is right behind the person's head, just blow out the background and capture the shadow side of their face. This tends to work really well, and for me this is the only real way to achieve a soft look. You can also achieve a somewhat pleasing look by shooting with that light directly hitting your subject straight on. But for me, if I'm shooting in the middle of the day, I will definitely look for somewhere that's undercover, somewhere that takes that harsh directional sun, lets it bounce around a little bit, bouncing off walls and other elements in the environment, just to make it a little bit more soft. So shoot with the lighting behind the subject or look for a shaded area. Sun_Dial asks, why is Fujifilm so expensive? And it really depends what you're comparing Fujifilm equipment to. If you're going to be comparing it to full frame cameras, things like a Canon R5 or a Sony A7R5, then Fujifilm is actually quite affordable. But I mean, it really comes down to the quality, the build quality of their equipment, and just the meticulous approach to their design overall. And they're always improving their cameras with firmware. And for me, I think that they're totally worth the money. But if you don't think that, then that's fine. There are plenty of other cheap options on the market that you could go for and still create amazing images. Sabo_Bents_photo asks, which one do you prefer shooting in, sunlight or during a rainy day? So anybody who knows me, you know that I prefer shooting on a sunny day. For me, there are just so much more options when it comes to the lighting, creating interesting light, looking for patterns, playing with light and shade. A rainy or overcast day can be great because it means that you have very even lighting overall. So it really depends what you're going for. But for me, if I'm trying to be creative, I love shooting on a sunny day. Tim Suwo, sorry if I'm pronouncing any of these names incorrectly, by the way, doing my absolute best, asks, what things would you do differently if you started photography today? And I absolutely love this question. I think it's a great question to ask. And to be honest, I don't know if there is actually much that I would change. I feel as though I was very lucky in the beginning when I started photography to find photography mentors who taught me a lot about the industry, being a creative in general. And while I definitely don't see myself as an overnight success, remember I've been at photography now for 12 or 13 years and I still feel like an amateur. I'm genuinely really grateful for my journey so far and everything that I've learned. I've really loved the fact that I have explored the career side and the business side of photography as well as the creative side, which I feel like I'm really deep in at the moment. But I think overall, maybe just worrying a little bit less about the equipment and whether the equipment that I had was good enough for the job that I was trying to do, because in reality, it always was enough. It's more about your creativity and your taste at the end of the day that really dictates your success. Dan.Yosua asks, what are you watching on YouTube these days? In terms of photography content, I have been really enjoying watching a lot of analog photography channels. Channels like Mike Gray, Jordan Hexum, Willem Verbeek, and Linus and his camera. I've really been enjoying learning more about the analog side of photography recently, so these channels have just been really fun for me to watch and just absorbing all the information and trying to learn as much as I can. Naru Chung asks, photographers who inspire you. This is a really hard one because I am inspired by a lot of different photographers, but a few photographers that I've been really loving their work recently, and these are some fellow Australian photographers if you want to go and check them out. The first is Film by Jong. She creates beautiful images in and around Sydney that are just super inspiring to me. Also Marco Di Stefano, who is a fashion photographer, just been really enjoying his work. And also Nick Prideaux. I actually picked up one of his recent photography books and the images in here are just super beautiful. Nick's work is a huge inspiration of mine. All right, maybe the last question because I've answered quite a few, but this is from D.O.ST. What are your goals for the next 5 years? Where do you want to go with your photography? So for me, over the last, I would say 12 to 18 months, I have just been really interested in getting into the world of commercial and fashion photography. For the foreseeable future, I'm really just going to focus in on doing as many test shoots as I can, expanding my network. I really want to meet more makeup artists, stylists, set designers, and just immerse myself a little bit more in the photography world that is not strictly social media. All right, so I really wish I could answer every single question that you guys sent through, but I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who sent in a question and everybody who supports me over on Instagram and here on this YouTube channel. I really appreciate you guys. You guys help me to keep doing what I love doing, which is sharing my photography and sharing what I've learned on this YouTube channel. I really hope you guys have a great day ahead. Thanks for joining me once again, and I'll see you all in the next video.